here's what we're making today. The little closing mechanism. Kia ora e te whānau. Well, welcome back, or welcome if you are new to this channel. This is a series where we have made all of this, and there's even some pages on the insides that you can't see. It is a journal that we will make together from beginning to end, and I'd love for you to join me along on this series. The whole playlist is there. You can start whenever you like. It will always be there. There is a digital kit to go with it if you want to make it look like this, but equally you can use the tutorials with your own stash to make your own journal. None of these tutorials are digital specific. The only one that came with an actual template is that guy up there. So join in, get cozy, get a cup of tea, and let's get crafting. I've just got one little announcement. Next week we will take just a 1 week break from our love letters and lace, because I have finally finished this lovely lass. My first really grungy journal, and I would love to do a flip through of her next week so you can see all the lovely goodness inside. She is a real different journey for me. It's taken over 6 months to create, and I will do a full flip through of her next week, and the week after that we will be back into our love letters and lace. So without any further ado, let's get crafting. I'm going to be very honest, very straight up here. I have about 20% of an idea of what I'm actually going to be doing here. The bonus is, if you're seeing this, I made something, because at the beginning of this video I would have shown it, because I filmed that afterwards, what I am starting with. And I know I want to work on that mechanism, as I would have said as well. So I just have, this is going to be a signature in our folio. That is just coffee dyed paper. I have another masterboard that I've ripped out of my masterboard book that I showed last week, and I've just backed that with coffee paper. I have made this digital for us to use throughout the love letters and lace. Isn't she gorgeous? Found all the little couples in my Girl Zone 1885, and I have isolated them and trimmed around them and put them as fussy cuts. Yes, I'm not gonna lie, they were a nightmare to fussy cut, but I think they're worth it. I think that's absolutely gorgeous. And there is a version that has not bright white on the background, it has a cream, so if you wanted to rough cut a border around them you could, if you didn't want to get into all of these little parts here. I just use my scissors, my big ones. I always have. It's only if I need to get into maybe that tiny little space there accurately. Actually I think, no, I did that with my scissors too. It was just around her face that I ended up using a craft knife just for that little bit. We are potentially also going to need, no, this one I know we do, that is 200 GSM card. I have just put an old book page, glue sticked it onto there, made sure that it was a page that was bigger than, because this is half an A4, so folded in, A4 folded in half. I made sure that the page itself was a larger page, maybe about an A4 to begin with, because where I cut that slit, I don't just want it coffee paper. I'm going to be a bit fussy, and I want you to see the same gap in the same writing so that it hides a little bit better. You may not even need to do that. So if you're not fussy like me, you will need card, because the mechanism, this needs to be quite durable, this layer, so that it can slide behind it. And it just needs to be whatever size your journal is that you're working on. Okay. So the first thing I'm going to do is I want, probably, how much is that? 1 3/4 of an inch. I want that to be the wraparound on the other side. So I want at least that there. Look at us actually doing something. I've got no idea what's going on. Actually I do. I just don't know how I'm going to decorate it yet. So this is going to wrap around there and be glued there, there and there. That's what's going to hold this mechanism on. Then we're going to have an extra little tuck spot on the opposite side. And over here, I think I want this kind of shape. And I just want it ripped. So it can only go out to there. I can only do this once. There's no turning back once we've done this part. It is what it is. Okay. So that is going to be our opening. And the part I really haven't decided yet is if I'm going to turn that into the slide lock mechanism and decorate that further, or if I want to put them on there. And I'd probably just move it over and then cut probably to there and then down her shape. And I do really like the way that looks on there. Just means I'll probably have to choose something else to be the slide lock mechanism, because otherwise I've got two couples and it sits like that when it's closed. So I will just ink this guy. They're already inked and I'll pop back. Right, so I've done some thinking. I did ink. Don't need to ink this side because that's obviously going to be glued down on the other side. I did ink around there, but if you recall, I wanted for that guy to go there, but that creates me a problem there. So what I have done is I have mirrored, and then that can go on the inside as well. So I've cut two. So that'll be quite cool. So I have redone the digital so that you have mirrored, a mirrored page. So any that you decide to double up, you can double up. Obviously I didn't mirror the ones with writing on it, which I'll explain in a second. But just to show you too, paper quality, look at the difference. This one on the right is matte photo paper. This one on the left is just standard old copy paper, and the detail you get in difference, I mean just look at that one, is huge, and it's particularly noticeable when it comes to writing. Okay, so what these are for, because I didn't want to use that one, if you remember, as the slide. So now you have two choices. You could either use that one as the slide or that one as the slide. And when that's on there, I have some little bits and pieces that I have, because I wanted to put a ticket up there, because they do look like they might be going off to the opera or something, you never know. But that one was one of my stash that was pre-printed, so I've just made that little one as a replacement if you want to have a ticket up there like me. And I just got a few little bits and pieces to brighten that up a little bit. Maybe that under there, and then probably I'll glue that down there, and we've got a cute little scene. So I do want to have writing space in here. So I'm just going to quickly grab my line stamp and I'm just going to stamp some lines in there. And now I am just going to, we'll show you this one. Not that it's rocket science. And I have slightly inked where you can see them crossing over. That's just in case my cutting wasn't perfect. You won't see the white edge of the one underneath poking out, if that makes sense. Go, they're lining up pretty well, so I'll just push those down. And I thought that's pretty cute that when you open it it's mirrored on the other side. Just going to glue the other little bits on. So I wanted that there. This is just a little piece of coffee dyed calico. Add a little bit of texture, and this is just some lace. Pretty sure this one's tea dyed though. I don't know about you, but in New Zealand, tea dyeing with our tea bags, it's got a slightly pinker tone than coffee does, and coffee just seems to be a nice straight brown, so it gives me two different options. I have noticed that there's a definite difference between the two. Now the tricky bit, which isn't even that tricky, is when this is on here, how far do we need our slider to come to? So we only need it to come to there to lock, and then to figure out how far we need to go towards the edge, that depends on the size of the slider. So I'll just quickly chop these two out. So you can't have anything that big because it needs to slide to allow that to open, and even if it slides to only there to let it open, it still comes past your center signature, so that can be problematic. You can, however, use it that way and have it slide there, or this guy, which by the way, just in case you want to read it, it's a bit cute. It's about cutting the wedding cake. It's from the same 1800, late 1800 Girls Own. So say if we want it to slide nicely out of the way, you don't want to cut right into here, and the mechanism on the back can be kind of central or slightly over here. I'll show you what I mean by that, but I would bring it back to about there. I mean, that is why we've done it in card, so that it can be quite durable, and that little piece there will hold on. Then I'm just going to use the text as a guide. only need, how much is that? Probably about 1/8 of an inch, maybe even less, because it's only about 3 mm. You don't want that slit to be too much. It only has to fit to thicknesses of the card that you're using to make the mechanism. So I might come in even a little bit more from that. Now you don't have to do this. You could just put it on some slightly thicker card, but this for me is a little bit flimsy at the moment. So I'm going to glue it onto some matte board. Matte board, I think it's very much like chipboard. It comes in different thicknesses. I've said it on a couple of videos. I just go to my local picture framing gallery and I ask them if they've got any scraps. They use it for the mats in their picture framing, and they're kind enough to give me some. And I might just leave the little border as well, because this is quite a nice colour. That way it's just a little bit more substantial. Okay, I'll just go cut that out. Okay, I've just put 2 little eyelets either side and a lobster clasp, and I have just threaded some ribbon through there just so that we've got something to pull either way. I'm sure you can just slide, and I honestly see how that's not sitting flat. I don't necessarily know how this is going to work on the mechanism, but let's find out. Let me make the mistakes for you. So I've just got a strip of paper here. It is 2.5 centimeters. It's about 1 inch. Now the reason why you don't make it that big is because the room that you've got either side to place it gives you a little bit more lenience. But you don't want it really thin either, because it won't be durable. So just grab some thicker card. Like I say, this is 240, and then let's fold one in that way, we probably want, so it's about 5 centimeters, so fold the other one in that way. So now all we've got is this. Doesn't need to be even at the moment. And then we just want to fold this one back about halfway. So about there will do. And then this one we want to fold to meet there in the middle. Then we just snip these off, and we've just made a little shape like that. This is the part that goes underneath here, and these are the bits that are glued to the back of here. So now that we've got that done, you're never going to see that, so you don't need to ink it. So you just put that in there like that, and then we just need to decide, see if this is too big, that can wiggle a lot more than that. So you only need this, and I've probably even cut it too big. You only need it this width here, that is the double thickness, and then that will prevent it from moving around too much. So you might want to make it even smaller than I did that slit. Now we just need to make sure, obviously that can't go so if we put it there, we just need to hold the back of it and check that we can slide it out of the way, which we can. So I just need to have a look, and this corner is going to meet about where her bow is. And we're just going to put some glue on here. And we're just going to let that dry. Now you can glue in there. I don't really see what difference it makes. And then when that's dry, that will slide nicely across. Now as you can see, for that slit, you really can't see a lot of it. So I'm teaching you this way just in case you use this mechanism on something that maybe slides right the length of the page, in which case you would have a really high visible slit. So in this case, gluing it onto this page, that's all you're going to see there. So for this instance, I am just going to glue it to the page. The reason why I had cut that is because I thought I was going to see slightly more of that. In which case, if I lined that up and stuck that on there, it now becomes completely a lot more invisible because you've got text through there as well. I don't think we will need it in this case. I think it'll be fine just to stick it on like that. So now all we need to make sure is when we're sticking it on, you can glue this part, and I recommend it. You can't glue along here, so you need to leave it some room. So if I grab my pencil, just to show you. There's the area we can't glue, and I would come out just a little bit further because when we squish it down it might go into there and we don't want to risk that. So I'm just going to quickly glue where I am allowed to glue. And then we are going to place it right on this far edge. And all we need to do is glue this guy on. And as I said, all I'm going to do is glue top and bottom. And because otherwise none of the center area will be attached, I am going to glue up here. All that's going to do is it's going to make our tuck on the other side slightly shallower, but I'm okay with that. Go. Now, what do we do with the inside? Because that's a little reveal. We've already got a little bit of writing space, which is great, but we do want more writing space, right? So unfortunately, I thought I was recording. You know the little piece that I cut off that I was going to put behind there? I've just stuck it on as a little pocket. And unlike me, I have not inked it because I wanted it to look like it was just part of the page this time. I don't know how old this postcard is because it's not written on, so it's great for journaling space, but that doesn't really help me recognise whether or not I can scan it for you guys, so I don't know about the copyright. But you could equally just put a little brown piece of paper in here. You could even only glue it at the top so you can flip it up. I'm just going to pop that guy in there, and then it closes up. And there's our little page, which I think will fit in perfectly with the rest of the journal. So I hope you enjoyed that make. I hope you enjoy these digitals if you've got them. Also, if you're making with your own stash, you should be able to find some bits and pieces that work, and you can give this mechanism a go. And thank you for being here. I really appreciate your support. And as always, love you guys. Mā te wā.